I recently reviewed the Toyota Land Cruiser, the 2024, and it got me thinking, what would it truly cost in order to get a 2024 vehicle? So the Toyota Land Cruiser that we will be referring to in this video has a starting MSRP of $55,950. So the Land Cruiser that we're referring to in this video is the base model, which is the 1958, but they do have two other trim levels, and the mid level being the Land Cruiser and then the highest trim level being the first edition. Now this one in particular does have a $499 add-on, and that's for the all-weather floor liners. And it also has a delivery fee of $1,395. Plus the sales tax in my area is about 7%, which will make it about $4,049.08, which brings the total to $61,893.08. And that's if you wanted to buy the vehicle straight up off the lot, take it home, you own it, no payments, you know, the fun part, if you can do that, but majority of us can't. So let's talk about that option. Now, this also isn't including any of the other things you have to factor in order to actually drive it off the lot. You know, things like car insurance, dealer markups, tags, and title fees. These are just the basics. But buying a vehicle straight up is difficult for the majority of us, let alone it being a 2024. And I even fall into the category where I couldn't buy this vehicle straight up even if I wanted to. So let's talk about financing the Toyota Land Cruiser 1958. So the payment amount definitely depends on how long your financing terms are. So however long your financing is, that will vary the amount that you actually pay monthly in order to pay this vehicle off. So for the sake of this video, we will be using 10.4% APR. And I know a lot of people will say this interest rate is too high, but according to MarketWatch, the current interest rate for a new car ranges from 5.64% to 14.78%. So this 10.4% is actually pretty average across all credit scores for new vehicles. Now, say you were to finance this Land Cruiser for 60 months with $0 down, then you would pay about $1,327.26 a month. If you were to finance it for 72 months, it will bring it down to $1,159.15 a month. But now let's say you put $5,000 down, then your monthly payments for 60 months will be about $1,241.48. And with that $5,000 down payment, if you were to finance it for 72 months, with that APR, it would be about $1,084.23. And in those 6 years with that interest rate, that also means you would end up paying about $20,171.65 just in interest. So when all said and done, after 72 months, instead of paying the original starting price of $55,950, you would actually end up paying $77,964.73. But so let's say we were going off that typical 24/10 rule and you put 20% down, that means your down payment would be $12,378.62. And if you financed it for 4 years, which is 48 months with that average 10.4% interest rate, then your monthly payments would be about $1,265.35. which is still in the same range as the other financing terms. However, where you can see the biggest difference is you will be paying $11,222.22 in interest over those 4 years, which is about $8,949.43 less than what you would pay in interest with a $5,000 down payment and finance for 6 years at the 10.4% interest rate. And is about $10,343.11 less than what you would pay over 6 years with $0 down. And of course, these numbers are very dependent on a bunch of different factors, stuff like how much you put down, how long you finance the vehicle for, and of course, your interest rate, aka APR. The median income in the US was about $37,585 according to statistics collected at the end of 2022. And the average household income was about $74,580 in 2022 as well. So that means that per month, the average person makes about $3,132 and the average household brings in about $6,215 a month, which means that even at the longest financing terms of 72 months and the lowest down payment of $0 with that average APR of 10.4%, the monthly payment coming out at $1,159.15 would be 37% of the average person's income and would be about 18.7% of the average household income. And this is with only one car payment when most people have two. And according to a study done in October of 2023, about 17.5% of people that have payments on a new car are making a payment that is above $1,000. And with numbers like that being so high, because let's be real, if you are to get a vehicle like the 1958, you probably will land in around that $1,000 car payment. And the biggest reason why this is a wealth killer, because a lot of people purchase vehicles like this when they're in a very strong financial position, like they have that promotion at the job. But what happens if you get laid off, or you have a spouse that makes just as much as you? What happens if y'all two separate? A lot of things can happen between the time of you purchasing this vehicle and you paying it off. So you got to be very careful. And that's what happens to a lot of people. The 2024 Land Cruiser 1958 is very obvious that it is better to buy it straight up, but is it worth financing it for an extra 10, maybe 15, or even $20,000 depending on your APR or how long you finance it for? Is it worth that? Me personally, I would go more so for the first edition because it has features that I really like in a vehicle, but there are things that I like about the 1958. But let me know what you think about it in the comments, or which one would you go for, or do you think it's worth that price? But with that being said, I'll see y'all on the next one.